Welcome to Azeroth United, a weekly podcast about World of Warcraft. My name is Denethar, and I am your host.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, and this is episode 56 of Azeroth United. We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be covering some Cataclysm Classic news. We've got some patch 11.0.5 news. We've got some Blizzard Store mount news. We've got some Arena World Championships. And the big topic of the day is the gear upgrade system and how well that has worked out since Dragonflight Season 2. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and enjoy. And as always, if you have any questions or comments about the podcast, or if you have a particular topic that you'd like to hear discussed, please email us at azerothunitedpod@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast and you are inclined to give us a little bit of support, you can give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Either one would work. You can also give us a review, and if you write a review, I'll read it on the air. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can give us a like and a subscribe. That would really help us out a lot. And the Patreon link, I'll put it in the show notes. You can go to our Patreon, sign up, and buy me the proverbial cup of coffee or the proverbial beer, whichever you prefer. So really appreciate the support. And yeah, that's it. That's my spiel. That's all I got. Before I get into the news, really quickly, I wanted to do a rundown of what I got up to last week on WoW. So we killed Ansarek, which is great. That was on normal. That was fun. And then we did Ulgrax on heroic, and then we just bashed our head against the wall on on the blood drinker or blood. Was it blood drinker or blood? Yeah. Anyway, that guy. Our DPS wasn't quite there, and it's a learning curve. But we got the positioning down right. Me and the other tank. And, that fight is really tough because it's hard enough as it is without the extra beam mechanic that goes across the room. But with that added onto it, it made it nearly impossible for us. We had some people in there who were in the 570s, so that didn't help either. But either way, we didn't get it. Well, hopefully we'll get it this week. And, that'll get us 2 out of 8 heroic. Like I said, the ultimate goal is AOTC, but we'll see. I don't know. The other thing that I did this past week was I broke down. My Resto Druid is now a Guardian Druid, and I leveled up my Resto Shaman. Actually, I have 2 Shaman. So one of them I leveled up, and she's now a healer. She was a Mop Remix character, so I think she was Elemental for that one. But anyway, so I've got a Shaman. So I'm just getting into heroic dungeons, and I'll probably start trying to hit a couple Mythic Zeros this week. So, that was really the bulk of it. The rest of it was just doing some stuff on some of the tunes, but nothing really big. The other thing that I did was I did jump into a modern WoW conversation on the Countdown to Classic podcast. Jason, Lucas, and Spencer Downey from the Starting Zone were on there. And, of course, Josh Corbett, the host of Countdown to Classic. A bunch of other people from the Countdown Discord were on there. We were talking all about the Mythic Plus difficulty and basically what we talked about last week on the podcast here. And, it was an interesting discussion. One thing that I will say is that when you are talking about Mythic Plus with people and there's any sort of question about performance, it starts to turn into an ego contest and who has the biggest one. Not everyone, of course. But there were some egos in the room, and it's hard to have a meaningful discussion when people are talking with their EPs. So it's fun. I really like the show. I've been a town hall member on there a couple times, but I think I'd rather just stick to my own show, and we'll go from there. So anyway, like I said, we're going to keep this really quick because I got a lot of information to cover, and a lot of really, I don't want to say dense topics because I don't want to scare anyone away, but the upgrade system it's a lot of numbers involved. So we'll get to it. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let's just get straight into the news.
it's time for the news.
In Blizzard news, so let's start off with Classic, because let's just kind of get it out of the way. So Cataclysm Classic is now getting the Joyous Journeys buff. It's the 50% XP buff. They'll pop that in every once in a while to kind of encourage growth and to help people level up alts, especially before a new raid comes out. I think they did it before Ice Crown. It's just a really good way to encourage people to jump back in. You go, oh, that's right, I've got a level 82 that I abandoned in Mount Hyjal, so let me go level them up to 85 or whatever. So that's pretty cool. There's still no definitive word on when the Firelands raid will release, but I'm assuming that the buff will last until the raid. So we'll see. That's always a good one. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like Cataclysm Classic is dying a slow death. I think people at this point are playing it because they just that's what they're playing, and they don't really have any alternative. They don't like SOD. They don't want to play retail. I know a lot of people who are playing Classic are now jumping on retail because the War Within's pretty dang good. But Joyous Journeys buff now live in Cataclysm Classic. I have not checked it out myself. My Death Knight is still, I think he's 74 right now. Left him in somewhere in Dragonflight, or I don't even remember where he is. Doesn't matter. I'm not dusting that off anytime soon. So, if you have a character that you might want to tinker with in Cataclysm, maybe you've moved on to SOD or whatever, now's a good time to jump back into Cataclysm Classic. Speaking of Cataclysm Classic, the other thing that I wanted to bring up, and there's a lot of information here that Blizzard has released, but the key here is that they are reverting some of the nerfs that have happened to the Firelands raid. So basically, after Firelands was released, it was released really difficult, and they slowly nerfed it over however many months, basically until Dragon Soul, and then I think even a little bit after Dragon Soul. So they're getting rid of all of those nerfs, and basically they're trying to release Firelands in the most difficult version possible, which I'm a big fan of. Let's give players a challenge. Great, let's do that. I also think that releasing a difficult Classic raid is a mistake. I think people liked Firelands because they have fond memories of it, and those memories weren't because they were progging on bosses for 86 pulls. They want to be able to go in there and do it. And yes, the top guilds are going to still do it in an hour and a half. Yes, that's true. But the regular, as the Classic developers like to call it, the beer and pretzels guilds, who are just kind of there for the vibes and chilling and hanging out with their friends on a Friday night, those guilds are going to struggle with a more difficult raid. At least I think they are. I don't know. Maybe everyone's going to clear it on the first night, heroic, 25 player. I think maybe that's what'll happen, or maybe not. I don't know. Either way, I think Cataclysm Classic, like I said, it's kind of dying a slow death because after this, what's next? Dragon Soul. Woo-hoo! I mean, seriously, what are we doing here? There's nothing left. I guess you can wait until MOP comes out in. I don't know. See, if Dragon Soul comes out in January, which is what I'm expecting, because that's what Blizzard had said in that tweet many, many moons ago. If Dragon Soul comes out in January, then I'm thinking we're probably going to see Miss Pandaria Classic, if we get it, in June, maybe. Give it a good 6 months, 7 months, or June or July, somewhere around there. Obviously, it depends on what's going on with the rest of Classic, and I'm pretty sure Blizzard has something else up their sleeve that they haven't revealed to us yet. We'll know more when the 2025 roadmap comes out, because I'm assuming we're going to get one of those, like we did with Dragonflight and Classic associated with it. So hopefully we'll see a roadmap soon, and then we'll have an idea of what we're looking at as far as the future of Classic, because quite honestly, there's a lot of people still playing Classic, even if it's dying a slow death. And those people want something to do. They don't want to play retail. They don't want to play Season of Discovery. A lot of them have already decided how they're playing Mists of Pandaria Classic. And if you take that away, they're going to be mad. So Unfortunately, Blizzard is kind of backed into a corner now. Once they decided to go forward with Cataclysm, they have to move forward with Mists of Pandaria. And if you move forward with Mists of Pandaria and then you stop, people are going to be pissed that you stopped before Legion. So you have to do Warlords of Draenor, as I've mentioned before, which means people are going to have to sit in their garrison for 6 months or 8 months or 9 months or however long it is. Even if it's accelerated, they're still going to have to sit in their garrisons. So unfortunately, that's what we got. Yeah, Warlords of Draenor Classic coming soon to a PC near you. All right. Let's move off of Classic because it's kind of depressing. In Modern WoW, so first of all, this stirred a little bit of a controversy. I don't know. People just get mad over everything these days. If it involves money, people are going to get mad because how dare Blizzard make money off of the game that they're producing? It's horrible, right? It's criminal. They should they should just give us the game for free and let us play WoW with no money exchange ever, and everyone will be happy. There we go. So on that topic, the Eve's Ghastly Rider mount, which is a broomstick mount with a little lantern on the end of it, is a really cool mount. That is now available in the store for $25. This was previously a Traveler's Log reward in October 23. Yeah, people are not happy. Oh, why don't you just give us the mount free for the Traveler's Log this month instead of the Jellyfish mount? Which, by the way, last week I said it was from BFA. It's not. It's from Zereth Mortis. I was wrong. Sorry. Sue me. So yeah, people are mad. Go cry. Go touch grass. I'm sorry. I have no sympathy. It's a mount. You don't need it. Just either buy it or don't, but stop complaining, please. All right. In other news, Arena World Championship Cup 2 finished last weekend, and the winners were Echo in the EU bracket and Welcome to the Jung in the North America bracket. So, yeah, we got 2 more cups, and then there's going to be a few weeks where we're going to do a little bit of MDI, and then we'll have the Arena World Championship Finals in the middle of November, and then the MDI Finals after that. So we are going to do some coverage of the Arena World Championship and the MDI in November. And November is going to be like the PvP month because we're going to have a PvP episode about just PvP and WoW in general, World PvP and all that sort of thing. We're going to talk about Arena. So the Arena World Championship. So there's going to be a lot of... it's also the esports months because we're going to be doing the MDI coverage as well. So it's... We've got some shows that we're trying to plan the shows in advance. And I say we, and I mean me. I'm trying to plan the shows a little bit further in advance so that I have an idea of what the topics are going to be several weeks ahead so that I can either prepare information or if I'm going to have somebody like a resource that I got to talk to, I can have all that stuff ready to go. And I'm not scrambling at the last minute as I have in the past many, many, many times. So Arena World Championship Cup 2. Dang, I keep saying Arena World Cup. I guess I'm thinking of the World Cup. And that's why. So, football, anyone? All right. One other thing that I will mention, and Blizzard just tossed this out with the, I saw it in the weekly updates, This Week in WoW, but the character restoration is now available again. So players are now able to restore characters that have been deleted. Please note that at this time there is a 60-second delay between each undelete. You will need to refresh the character screen, change realms, or log into a character between each character restored. On October 15th, we will be reinstituting the 7-day cooldown period between character restorations. So if you deleted a character and then you were like, oh crap, that was a mistake, and you realized, oh, I can't restore that character. Now you can. And in fact, you can restore characters faster than you ever could before with lightning speed and precision by going into the game and restoring them until October 15th. At which point, you'll have to wait 7 days per. So, which is still not bad. If you got a bunch of characters that you deleted and you really want them back, now it's time to go grab them. Especially if you deleted characters that were on some other realm that you're like, I'm never going to play here. Now all your characters are on this big long list in your Warband login screen, and you're like, oh, I wonder where that character went. Oh, that's right, I deleted them and I can't get them back. Now you can. So there you go. All right. This one's great. The Zekvir's Lair will no longer reward Great Vault credit. Womp womp. Look, I did it too. Okay, I did it too. I think I did 5 Zekvir's Lairs, and then I did a couple of other. No, I did 4, and then I had to do 5 delves after that because I needed credit for the quest or whatever. Anyway, I did a bunch last week, and I got credit for tier 8 in the vault, which was nice. So that is over. And everybody kind of suspected that Blizzard was going to end that one. And it's not even like, as a lot of people have pointed out, this is not a case of, fun detected, Blizzard's getting rid of our fun. It's not even that fun. It's really not. Zekvir's Lair is kind of meh. As far as boss fights go, it's, as the kids say, it's mid. I mean, it's not bad. It's just, eh. So, yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there is now no reason to do Zekvir's Lair on question mark difficulty. There's just none. Unless Blizzard is going to give us 1 credit per week, which I could see them doing that. Like, okay, you can do it 1 time, but you can't repeat it 8 times to get your 8 slots in the vault. So either way, that's what's going on there. So, yeah, you have to actually go and do delves, which I hate that I'm saying this, but that stinks because honestly, the delves are getting a little long in the tooth. As far as a gearing option goes, yeah, it's not great, but, if you're looking for just a little fun challenge on an alt, I think delves are great. If you're looking for hard hitting end game content, no, delves is not the answer. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit because that does tie into the gear upgrade discussion that I want to have here in a little bit. So, all right, moving on. We finally have a release date for patch 11.0.5. Finally, this is the anniversary patch and a few other things, and it will be released on October 22nd. So we will get the Blackrock Depths raid, the classic Timewalking with the Dead Mines, and a bunch of other stuff. And by the way, I just want to say, Blizzard, why are you afraid of giving us Wailing Caverns Classic? Not the watered down version that's in the game now. I want the full on maze from Wailing Caverns in Timewalking. I want to see a group of 5 people, 5 clueless randos try to finish Wailing Caverns in Timewalking going through that maze. I really want to see that happen. Please don't be afraid, Blizzard. Just do it. Give us original Wailing Caverns. Please. Oh man. Yeah, that's brutal. That's a brutal dungeon. I'd love to see classic Scarlet Monastery, honestly. Cause I mean, I like the reworks that they did for Miss Pandaria. I really do. They're actually, in a lot of ways, they're an improvement. But Scarlet Monastery was so iconic. For players in vanilla and again in classic in 2019, there was nothing like you get to that mid 30s range and you're like, time to put together a Scarlet Monastery group. And you start looking and you're like, oh, can we do the library and the armory? Oh no, you got to go. All right, well, we'll find a different tank for the armory. And oh, it's cathedral. Oh, you pulled too many in the cathedral. Got to do it one at a time. Yeah. That would have been good, but I'm happy with the ones we got. We got Dead Mines, original Dead Mines. We've got Zul'Farrak. We've got Dire Maul East and Dire Maul West. And if you're not sure which ones those are the ones with the Dire Maul East is the one with the demon, the little imp guy that you have to chase around, and then the demon boss at the end. And then Dire Maul West is the one where you have to fight the Night Elf at the end, and he's like really tough. He hits like a truck. Dire Maul North is the one with all the ogres, and we are not getting that one. So if you were looking for ogres in classic Timewalking, you will not be getting it. Then the other two, of course, are Stratholme Live and Dead, or Main Gate and Service Entrance, or Scarlet and Baron, or however you want to refer to it. There's all sorts of different ways that people referred to Stratholme back in the day, which is it's a shame that it was really underappreciated in classic. I think there was really just the robes that you get at the end of the Baron side. I guess there was a few trinkets that you could get from, or a few things you could get from the others. I don't know. I feel like people didn't really care about Stratholme in classic. There was more interest in Stratholme in Season of Mastery because we had the tier 0.5 armor sets back then. Or during Season of Mastery at the beginning of it, which we did not see in Classic. By the time those sets came out, nobody cared. Everybody already had gear. Those were a catch-up set that it was way too expensive for a catch-up set. If you had just started playing WoW and you were like, oh, cool, I can get good gear. Oh, wait, I need to have hundreds and hundreds of gold. Never mind. I think they learned how to do catch-up gear for alts and for new players a little bit better as the years went on. So patch 11.0.5 will show up on the live servers on October 22nd. That's pretty much when everyone speculated that it was going to be. That's going to include the anniversary event, like I said, the Timewalking, the Blackrock Depths raid, the Chromie time, Gates of Encourage, and all the new currency, the tier 2 high def reworked sets that we're going to get. They look beautiful, by the way. They all look gorgeous. I'm really excited about that. They're expensive. And as of right now, Blizzard is going to make us work for them. So just know these aren't free sets that we're getting because it's the anniversary. These are expensive sets that we're going to have to work for. So just keep that in mind. And we're going to have a whole detailed coverage of the 11.0.5, all the features that are coming in, what the Blackrock Depths raid looks like, all of that stuff. So we'll do that. We're going to do that next week. Okay. And then finally, the last item in the news before we move on to our main topic is this week. And I wanted to point this out because when it's the Delve week or the Battleground bonus week, who cares? But when it's the Timewalking week, especially at the beginning of an expansion, like when we had Burning Crusade Timewalking 3 weeks ago, it's a big deal. So this week is Wrath of the Lich King Timewalking. You get the Ulduar Timewalking raid, which is, 13 bosses, 14 bosses, something like that. And there's a quest that you get, which will reward you with a hero piece of gear. It's basically a Wrath of the Lich King era piece that's scaled up to hero track. It's a great quest line, or it's a great raid to do for alts. The quest line is really good. It gives you a good piece of gear. It's an all around win. And Ulduar, while it is the longest of the Timewalking raids, it only takes an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes if you have a slow group. Ulduar's fast. The hardest part of Ulduar is the stupid flame Leviathan at the beginning. God, that stinks. Everybody struggles with it. It's a nightmare until people figure out that don't use the motorcycles. You got to make sure you interrupt the flame vents and blah, 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 blah. Usually end up with 2 or 3 wipes before, or 7 or 8 wipes before you can kill it. But once you do that fight, everything else is a breeze. The Yogg-Saron fight even is a breeze. Now, some people want to do the no light achievement on Yogg-Saron, and I'm like, look, this is Timewalking, okay? Just go and talk to all the fort keepers and just kill Yogg-Saron as fast as you can. Make sure that at the end of the raid, you loot the chest and you loot Yogg-Saron, because Yogg-Saron drops the quest item, and if you don't get it and then you teleport out, you cannot go back in, and you are completely screwed for this particular Timewalking period. As I found out back in Dragonflight, you cannot go back. So, yeah, unfortunately, this is how it is. So, yeah, I'm very careful now to make sure I loot both the chest and the Yogg-Saron corpse at the end of the raid. Yeah, I had a whole Reddit post that I was complaining about it and got flamed into oblivion for being an idiot. So that's why I don't post on Reddit anymore, kids. This is why. All right. I think that's it for the news. That's all I have written down here. I don't recall anything else really of great importance coming up. We do have Hallows End coming up in a couple weeks, but we'll get to that. Oh, yes, there is one more thing. The Darkmoon Faire is live this week. So it'll go until Saturday. So make sure you get over there, get your skill points, get your knowledge points. This is a one-time opportunity or once per month opportunity to get some extra knowledge points and to get some extra skill points. If you're struggling to get your trade skill leveled up to the last bit, you just don't want to spend money on the mats, or nobody's putting in crafting orders and the patron orders are too expensive. Darkmoon Faire is the way to go. And the fair is fun. I've always said the fair is a lot of fun. You can ride the roller coaster, get an XP and reputation buff, or the carousel. You can get shot out of the cannon. You can fly through the fire rings. You can fight the heavy metal knight or the death metal knight. You can check out the concert. I mean, there's a lot to do. It's really fun. Yeah, go to the fair. Go with friends. Go by yourself. It doesn't matter. You're playing a video game. You're not actually going to the fair by yourself. So, you're already by yourself. So don't worry about it. All right. With that, let's move on to the main topic of the week.
It's time for the main topic of the week.
So as I said earlier, we're going to be talking about the gear upgrade system in The War Within. And it's actually the gear upgrade system from Dragonflight because this was introduced in Dragonflight Season 2. Let's set the Wayback Machine to Dragonflight Season 1. So if you recall, Dragonflight Season 1 released, and whatever gear you could get from a Mythic Plus or from a raid, that's what you got. And it was very crucial that you were able to, if you ran a +2, so this is very number dependent. So I'm sorry if the numbers are boring. I am going to have I'm going to try and put together an infographic that kind of explains all this, but it's a lot. But if you recall, in Dragonflight Season 2, if you ran a +2 Mythic, you would get a piece of 376 gear. And it wasn't veteran track or champion track or whatever track. It was just an item level 376 piece of gear. If you ran an 8, you would get a piece of 385 gear, etc. So it was very important that you ran as high as you could go to improve your gear, to get better gear, because the higher you ran, the higher gear you got. When Blizzard released patch 10.0.5, which, if you recall, that was the trading post patch, they also introduced the Valor system. So the Valor system was a loot system that you could get at the end of a Mythic Plus run. You would get Valor, and then you could use that Valor to purchase upgrades for your gear. So if you had a piece of gear and you spent Valor, you could move it from 376 to 379 to 382 to 385, etc. On and on and on. And it was dependent on your Mythic Plus rating score and what level of dungeons or what level of Mythic Plus you had done. I think in that first iteration was actually limited by the level of keystone that you had run. So it was like you needed an 8 and then a 10 and then a 12 or something. I forget the exact numbers. It doesn't matter. That was the system from Dragonflight Season 1. There were a couple of flaws with this system, but the two that I really noticed or I really recall from that time was, one, it didn't apply to raid gear. So if you ran raid, you were stuck with the same old gear. So you could upgrade your gear from Mythic Plus all the way to 411 if you had enough Mythic Plus rating. If you got a piece of 402 gear in raid, it was 402 forever. You could not upgrade that gear. And so it created a situation where raiders felt like they had to do Mythic Plus in order to get better gear. And this is, I don't want to say this was the start of that, because it was already happening before that. There was a give and take between Raiders and Mythic Plus in Shadowlands and in BFA. I don't recall from Legion because I don't really do any of that stuff in Legion. But in Shadowlands, I remember it was, you either did Mythic Plus or you raided, and if you wanted to do both, you did both. But nobody felt compelled, at least not from where I was, compelled to do one or the other. You did them because you wanted to. I want to do the raid. I want to do Mythic Plus. Not, I have to do this. So, and you know what? This is coming from a mid-tier, a normal raid and maybe AOTC raider and a mid-level Mythic Plus player. You know, I've never pushed for 20s or 10s or whatever you want to call them. I've never been that player. So, the other problem with the Dragonflight Season 1 system, the Valor system that we got, is that players realized very quickly, if you run +2s, which are super easy, and you can go run up 2, if you have heroic raid gear, you can go run a +2 and farm specific pieces of gear, farm specific trinkets and things. It was primarily trinkets that people did this on because they were able to get other gear from raids and higher level Mythic Plus. But trinkets were specific, and if you ran a 9 or a 15 or a 17 and you didn't get your trinket, it was like, damn, this stinks. And that was hard. So people just started running 2s. 2s were super easy back then. So you would run a 2, and if you didn't get your gear, you say, okay, I'm running this again. Find another group, run it again. And you just keep doing that until you get your trinket. And then you can upgrade that trinket all the way to 411 because you've got all the valor from running it so many times, and you have the rating because you've been running high level Mythic Plus. So now that trinket that you got at a +2 is now basically a like a +15 trinket or a +20 trinket, however you want to call it. It was a high level trinket. It was basically as high as you could get it without getting something from raid. So this was a little bit of a problem. Blizzard didn't like that. They said, hey, hold on. We don't want players doing that because it's sending the wrong message. It's encouraging players to run low level content, and we want the players to run the high level content to get the high level gear. So they realized they needed to make a change. And oh boy, did they make a change. Dragonflight Season 2 was the first iteration of the current gearing system that we have with the Explorer track and the Adventurer and Veteran and Champion and all that stuff. It was a little bit different. We got crest fragments, and then we had to combine them into crests. And then so you would use 1 crest per upgrade, 15 fragments created a crest. It's the same values that we use now, except that you had to convert currency. So it was taking up extra bag space. And it wasn't a currency. It was something you just held in your bags, which was also kind of annoying. And then they also introduced the Flight Stone system, which is now the Valor Stone system. So that worked pretty well. People were a little confused by it at first. It was, why do I have all these different types of gear, and why do I have to worry about what I'm running? And very quickly, people realized that, if I'm running 2s and 3s and 4s, I'm going to get veteran gear, which isn't going to get me very far. So it's forcing you to run higher level Mythic Plus or raids, so you can upgrade your gear higher. So, and we all know how the system works. We're all playing the War Within, or at least I'm assuming so. And so I don't need to explain how the system works. But what I wanted to point out was the flaws in the system when it was originally released. So if we look at, so let's move to Dragonflight Season 3. In Dragonflight Season 3, this was the last season of the current upgrade system with the old Mythic Plus system. And so this gives us a really good idea of what we are missing now that has, or what has changed with Mythic Plus. Because like I said earlier, there's still a lot of discussion about, is Mythic Plus too hard? Some players are like, hey man, Mythic Plus is easy. I just did a 10 and it was no problem. Other players are like, I can't get into groups. I don't have enough item level to get into groups. They say my item level is too low. My item level is as high as I can upgrade based on the upgrade system currently. I cannot upgrade it anymore unless I can get into higher keys, and I can't get into the higher keys because my item level is too low. And this is a complaint I've seen over and over again on Twitter, on Reddit, at the Arby's down the street, everywhere people are talking about this. So in Dragonflight Season 3, we had 20 levels of Mythic Plus where you could get, or up to Keystone 20, where you could get or improve your gear. Sorry. So like I said, this is dense, and I know, I'm sorry, but the problem is if you were doing anything through an 8, okay, Keystone 2 through 8, you were getting veteran track gear. And so people were like, well, I don't want to run that. And so people started running 9s, 10s, 11s, and realized very quickly if you're running, an 8, if you run 8 and above, you would get hero track in your vault. And then you go, okay, well, if I run 11 and above, I'll get worm track or worm crests at the end of the run. And so people start to notice these breakpoints of, okay, I have to do at least this, but if I want this, then I have to do this. And if I want that, I have to do that. And this is where we get this idea that, well, I need to run higher level keys. I have to do something higher than what my gear will currently allow, because I can't upgrade my gear. And it's not a gear issue. It's a skill issue. I know that. It's also a practice issue and a knowledge issue, but this isn't is Mythic Plus too hard conversation. This is a gearing system conversation. And the way that the gearing system works now, since this was changed, is that you are now locked into these leveling bands. And I've talked about this a few times. You create your leveling band. You go, I'm at the Wormcrest leveling band. If you can't, like in Dragonflight Season 3, the highest you could, the lowest that you could get an aspect crest was a 16 keystone. If you couldn't run a 16, you weren't getting aspect crests, which means that your gear was never getting any higher than 476. That was the max. That was the highest you could go. You were done. Unless you were converting crests, but it was so expensive to do that. So let's move it forward. Let's go to The War Within Season 1, where we are right now. And we say, okay, so we've got things make a little bit more sense. If you run a 2, you get champion gear. Cool. You run a 3, you get champion gear. 4, 5, 6, champion. Great. So the Mythic Plus system starts off with champion, 2 through 6. 7 through 10, you get hero gear. Great. This is great. So far, this all makes sense. Where it runs into problems is when you are talking about upgrading your gear. So if you say, all right, I'm getting hero gear in my vault. I'm running tier 8 delves. I'm running Mythic Plus 3 and 4. Okay, so if you're running a 4 Mythic Plus and you're running tier 8 delves, you're going to get runed crests. And those runed crests are going to allow you to upgrade your champion gear to 8 of 8 and your hero gear to 4 of 6, which is 619. Currently, one of the problems that we have is that people don't want to take anyone sub 620 into a 9 or a 10. 9 or a 10 is where you get gilded crests, which allow you to upgrade your gear above item level 619. So you see the problem here. This is a system that was created by Blizzard to solve one problem, and the player base, being the special little snowflakes that we are, have created an entirely new problem, which is this gatekeeping of item levels in higher level keys. Now, the reason that this is such a big deal is that in Dragonflight, we were getting aspect crests at a Mythic 6. Now we don't get the new version of aspect crests, which is the gilded crests. We don't get those until 9. A 6 is a lot easier than a 9, especially now with the new affix system. That's a heck of a lot easier. And you could get Myth Track gear, which will allow you to completely bypass the Hero Track upgrade system and completely in your vault if you run a Mythic 8. Now that's only available for Mythic 10. So yes, the Mythic Plus dungeons are hard. And this is what we talked about last week. They are hard. They're supposed to be hard. But I don't think they're as hard as people are making them out to be. I think the gearing system is causing a lot of frustration for people. They are not able to progress through the system the way Blizzard might have intended for them to, because you are stuck at a certain item level. And if you want to go higher, you cannot go higher. Now, if you are, let's say you're running twos and threes, keystones, 2s and 3s. That's about as high as you can go. And you're doing some tier 8 delves. Okay, you're pretty much not going to go above 606. You might get some hero pieces in the vault, and so those will be up, you'll have a higher item level on those, but you won't be able to do much with that. You won't be able to upgrade those very far because you're not getting runed crests. The only way you're getting runed crests is from your tier 8 delves, and you get 2 at a time. If you want runed crests, you've got to run a 4 keystone. So again, for people who are just dipping their toe into the Mythic Plus system right now, they are, again, limited by this crest band where it's like, well, you're stuck in the carved crests. You can't move on to the runed crests because you're not getting enough. Maybe you have enough for 1 upgrade a week. That is not enough. We're not talking about upgrading 1 piece all the way. We're talking about going to the upgrade guy 1 time and upgrading 1 piece of gear that 1 time. And that's all you can afford. Because if you're getting 2 per tier 8 delve, you've got to do 8 tier 8 delves to upgrade 1 piece of gear. 1. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. So what is the answer? Well, currently you have to run a 4 keystone or above. And if you don't time it, you get 5, which means you need to do 3 keystones and not time them to get enough for an upgrade, which also doesn't feel really good. That really sucks to have to do that many keystones that you're not even timing. If by chance you are able to time your keystones, if you're able to time +4 keystones, you can do 5 +4 keystones in a week, every week, and you will have enough crests to do 4 upgrades. That's actually not bad. The cap per week on crests is 90. So once you've gotten your 90, you can't get any more. So if you got up to 90 runed crests, that's all you're going to get anyway. So you're only getting, 2 more upgrades. So you can get 6 upgrades a week. So if you could do 5 +4 keystones, it's actually reasonable. But some people can't do that. It's too hard. They struggle with mythic zeros. They're barely able to do a 2 or a 3. Trying to do a 4 with the added fortified or tyrannical affix, it's too hard. It's too hard for them. And this is where I was talking about this ego conversation comes in, because people get really sensitive when you question their ability to do high-level content. And if you infer in any sort of way that, hey, maybe the problem is you're just not good enough to do the high-level content, people get offended. And I get it. I understand. And it's all about wording it a certain way and all that. But the elitism and the ego conversations of, oh, well, I did a 10 yesterday and it was no problem. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you did a 10. I'm really happy for you. I'm glad you pugged a 10. That's even better. That's amazing. That's awesome. Most people don't get that opportunity. Most people can't even pug a 6, let alone a 7. A 7 is where you get the affix that charges you 15 seconds per death. As I like to call it, it's the pug killer. So if you're trying to do anything above a 6, 7 through 10 or above, if you're doing a pug, you're going to struggle, because if one person dies from standing in the beam, or one person dies for they didn't use a personal cooldown, or the healer's bad and people are dying left and right, or the tank doesn't know how to manage the aggro or the mobs, or they're pulling extra groups, you're not timing your key. And again, we're back now to you get 5 crests per keystone. So all this to say that the upgrade system, it's a really good system. It's a really solid system, and the player base has turned it into something abysmal, because players are not willing to say, oh, you want to run this dungeon and you could use the gear upgrades from in here. Yeah, let's bring you. No. What they do is they say, you basically need to have the gear from in there already so that we can bring you. So in other words, if you want to run a +7 keystone, you have to have at least 610 item level. You have to. Probably even higher. Probably they're going to want you to have 616, honestly. If you want to run a 10, you're going to need 620 at least. 623 preferred. Which is nuts, because that's basically myth track gear for a 10. So, is there a way that Blizzard could fix the system to make it work a little bit better? I don't know. That's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that they would have to evaluate and look at and decide how they want the upgrade system to be. This is more of a philosophical thing than anything, because you could put any numbers and any crests and any flight stones and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. Theoretically, we could get rid of crests altogether. And we could just say, you get flight stones no matter what. And if you run any dungeon, you get flight stones. The higher the dungeon, the more flight stones you get, blah, 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 blah. You could do that. But then what would happen is players would run +2s, or they would just do world content. And then that one hero piece that they got in the vault, they'll upgrade it all the way. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. I guess it's a little bad, but there's just really no answer. The crest system, the crest currency in the upgrade system is creating these bottlenecks. And so if you lower the requirements, then people are going to start saying, oh, well, then we're just letting anybody in here. And it's this gatekeeping, it's this elitism that is keeping the upgrade system in this bad place. I know players who have already said, I'm done with the War Within, at least this season, because it's too hard to get into Keystones. It's too hard to pug. It's too hard to get a group. Every group I get into, people don't know the fight. They don't know the pulls, or they're yelling at me because they think I'm doing it wrong or whatever. I've heard from so many people that say this season stinks. I've also heard from a lot of people who are going, this season is great. These dungeons are great. I'm having a blast. I'm able to get in and run keys. And most of those, not all, but most of them are running with a regular group. The people who are pugging are fewer and farther in between. They do exist. It's out there. There are people who have pugged their way to Keystone here already. And it's doable. It's absolutely doable. You need practice. You need to do your research. If you want to do Keystones higher than you can currently do, or if you haven't done any Keystones, you need to do your research. You need to get in there. You need to figure out the boss mechanics. You need to figure out the trash mechanics. What's the priority interrupt? What's the positioning on this? What's the correct route if I want to tank? What healing when should I save my healing cooldowns? When should I use them? Should I use them just whenever anyone's low, or should I save them for a special boss attack? These are the things you need to learn. You need to go and you need to watch some videos. You need to read some content. There's a lot of resources out there for Mythic Plus. Some of them are bad. I'll grant you. Some of them are bad, but the resources are available. But the gear system that we have, it's not changing anytime soon. If Blizzard does change it, they're going to make tweaks to it. And, I haven't even addressed the big issue that started at the beginning of the War Within, which is adding 2 levels to the myth track. So previously, the myth track was 1 through 4. And when you got to 4, you were done. And then anything above that was considered a rare item and you couldn't upgrade it. Okay. And then we got the Awakened. Was it the Awakened? I think it was the Awakened in Dragonflight Season 4, which some of those pieces we could upgrade all the way to 14 from the Bullion. And now with Myth Track, they all go that high. Every single piece of gear that you get, if it's Myth Track, goes all the way up to 6 out of 6 Myth. The problem there, as I mentioned, is if you get a piece of Myth Track gear, you get 90 crests a week, which means you can upgrade 1 piece of gear per week. And that's rough. It means if you have to upgrade all of your gear through crests, it's going to take you a couple months to do that, or several months to do that. And people don't like that. They don't like feeling like they have to grind on things. And I guess really this really shows us that we're in a different era of WoW, because not too long ago in Legion, we were grinding artifact power happily. And in Battle for Azeroth, we were grinding Azerite power. And I don't know if we ever happily grinded Anima in Shadowlands, but so be it. But this is my whole thing. The upgrade system works as long as players are willing to accept its flaws and willing to accept other players and acknowledge that the system itself is a flawed system. If you go in and you want to run a dungeon and you say, hey, I my gear is like, my Death Knight right now is 608, but he's a tank. So I could probably get into some higher level keys. I actually have gotten into some higher level keys. But I don't feel comfortable running those. I feel like I'm a little squishy. And maybe that's because I don't know the dungeons as well. Or maybe it's because maybe my healer didn't know the dungeons. Or it could be any number of things. But I don't feel particularly strong running anything above a 4, I would say. I've tried it and it's hard. It's hard. So I don't know. Maybe there's some validity to the gatekeeping. Maybe that's born out of necessity. For Blizzard gave us this option to upgrade, or the capability of upgrading our gear. And if you can't, then maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should stick to whatever it is you're doing. Maybe if you have 619 gear and the highest you can go is a 6, well, maybe that's as high as you can go. Or the alternative, as Blizzard always likes to say, you need to find a group of people to run with. And I know that everyone hates hearing that, but that's honestly the truth. If you want to have a group, or if you want to be able to get gear that you can take to Myth, or get Myth Track gear even, if you want those gilded crests, maybe you have a couple pieces of Myth Track already and you can't upgrade them because you can't get the crests, you got to get a good group. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. There's no way around it, because while you can pug, it's always going to be rough. It's always going to be a slog, and you're going to have a rough time. You're going to go in there with people who don't know the mechanics, or however they managed to get in there. They're there. Maybe they got carried. Maybe they got lucky. But you're in there with people who don't know, and now you're not timing it. And now you're not getting rating, and now you're not finishing the key, and then the healer leaves, and you're done. So, it's this is, like I said last week, this is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, but I realized that the issue itself isn't the overall difficulty of Mythic Plus dungeons. It's the way that people are getting and acquiring their gear and upgrading their gear that is causing a lot of these problems. Not all of the problems. Some of the problems are basically, they're either knowledge or skill. Players aren't fast enough to move out of things, or they don't know how to do the dungeons. They don't know the mechanics. Those things are rectifiable. The upgrade system is not. And so if Blizzard has a new upgrade system, or some changes to the current upgrade system that they're planning to introduce in the War Within, great. I think that would be great. But more than likely, this is what we've got, and it's here to stay. And so we've got to make it work the best that we can. So there you go. All right. I think that's going to do it for today. There's still a lot of World of Warcraft to play and do without participating in Mythic Plus. And I didn't even talk about Raid as far as the upgrade system goes, because quite frankly, the upgrading system in Raid is so much more straightforward. If you run normal, you get champion in your vault. That's what you get. You get champion. If you run heroic, you get hero. And there's nothing complicated about any of that stuff. Where it gets complicated is the Mythic Plus, where you have all these weird numbers. And you know, I will say one other thing. I looked at because I talked about the ramping of Mythic Plus, and I wanted to kind of point out that when Blizzard made the change for Heroic and Mythic 0 dungeons, that changed the difficulty on things. But I would go so far as to say that the difficulty of a Heroic dungeon, you're getting way more gear than you should from a Heroic as far as the upgrade system goes. You know, you're getting a 4 out of 8 Adventurer. You can take that up to 593. That's great for as easy as Heroic dungeons are. What you're getting from Mythic 0 dungeons of 593, that's not worth it. Not even a little bit. So is there still more that could be done? Yes, there is still more that could be done with the upgrade system. Blizzard changed to the Mythic Zeros from Champion to Veteran, whatever. The thing is, you have to look at what is the ultimate goal of the system, and the ultimate goal of the system is to allow you to upgrade the best gear that you can get. And in this case, if you're doing Mythic Zeros, then it's going to be Veteran track gear. If you're doing 2s, 3s, and 4s, you'll be getting Champion gear with the occasional hero piece in the vault, and that's fine. So you have to be willing to accept your place, or you have to do something to change it, which means getting into a group or just becoming so awesome that nobody can resist you or whatever it is. But ultimately, it's on you. This is not up to the community to allow you to do it. This is up to you to force your way into it. So, all right. That's going to wrap up our show for today. I'm sorry. That was a meaty topic, a lot of numbers. And really, it's not something that I want to revisit anytime soon. So I hope that Blizzard figures out a way to smooth the edges out from the upgrade system. But as far as I'm concerned, the system works, and this is it. This is what we've got for now. So thank you so much for listening and for watching. If you want to get in contact with me, you can reach me on Twitter. I am at Denethar, or you can send an email. You can reach me at denethar1@gmail.com. You can also catch me occasionally streaming on Twitch or on YouTube. Those are both Denethar01. I'm planning to do some live streams for the show here in the future. I'm still working on some of the technical aspects of it. I wanted to do this before the War Within came out, but I just couldn't get the there were some hurdles in the way. So I'm hoping to get some live streams going up onto probably YouTube. I prefer YouTube over Twitch. I'm not trying to get onto the Twitch streaming bandwagon. Yeah, so I'm going to try and get some live streams up on there. So I will have the schedules for those in advance. So if you want to be able to be online at that time, and you can even talk to me in chat while we're doing the show, that might be kind of fun. So something to look forward to in the future. So, all right. I have the Linktree information for Azeroth United. It's in the show notes, but it's linktr.ee/Azeroth United. So you can go there. You can get the link to the Discord server. You can get the link to the Azeroth United YouTube page. A couple of other things that are on there. The Patreon is on there. Like I've said before with the Patreon, I'm not out here trying to make money off of people. I'm doing this for fun and I'm enjoying myself. But it does cost me money. And if you're enjoying the show and you want to throw me a couple bucks, I think that would be awesome. If you are enjoying the show and you don't want to throw me a couple bucks, that's cool too. I'm glad that you're enjoying the show. Honestly, if I had to choose, I'd pick feedback over money any day of the week. So if you want to give me feedback, that to me, that's worth more than a couple bucks. But if you also want to throw me a couple bucks, that's awesome too. So thank you for that. All right. And I think that's it. I think that's going to wrap us up. So be good to each other out there. It's rough, especially for people who are pugging. They're having a rough time. I'll tell you right now, I've done my fair share of pugging, and it is hard. So be nice to people. Try and teach them. This is something that Spencer Downey mentioned in the Countdown to Classic episode that we did a couple days ago. Teach people. If you see the group is struggling and they're having a hard time with the mechanics, it doesn't hurt to teach them, to explain the mechanics. It could take you 20 seconds to type it out, and then somebody might know, oh, that's how you do this fight. I never knew. You know what? Maybe they should have watched the Hazelnutty video or something, but they didn't, and so they have no idea. Or maybe they did watch a video and they didn't understand. It doesn't hurt you to try and help them out. And if they still don't want to do it right, well, you tried. That's all you can do. So just be good to each other out there. Be kind. It is a real person on the other side of that keyboard. So they have feelings, and maybe it's a mom at the end of her work day, and she just put her kids to bed, and she just wants to run a couple keys before she goes to sleep, and you're yelling and screaming and just trying to make her feel terrible. And that's awful. Or maybe it's a 13-year-old kid who's having a blast playing World of Warcraft. You watched his dad play it when he was growing up, and now it's his turn, and he wants to run keystones, and you're yelling and screaming at him, calling him a loser and telling him to do terrible things to himself. Come on, it's a real person, okay? Be nice, smile, be good to each other. All right, take care. I love you all, and I'll see you in Azeroth.